Right, because upon further research, they did that whole scene in Ferris Bueller's Day Off where he hacked on the computer with the password pencil as like an homage to War Games,
so
as a reference to War Games.
Same password in both movies?
Yep.
Who would have thought that? That's
Mind
bizarre.
Blown.
You can get out of school and you can save the world with pencil.
Well, the password at the end of War Games was what?
Oh.
Ted Jenkin, Oxygen Financial, would you like to play password game?
Pen.
I would if I knew the answer.
The only way to win is not to play.
No, Joshua. Joshua.
Which was that dude's son?
Falcon.
Yo, man, you want to win, don't play.
Anyway, tax time is upon us. That means you gather up all your stuff. Your company or business should have, by law, by now, have sent you all the paperwork that you need. That's how it's supposed to go. Ted Jenkin, Action Financial, making his weekly visits. Help people out, Ted, because a lot of individuals listening to Bailey and Southside don't realize that there are so many different things that you can write off, which will give you some more money from Uncle Sam. I mean, depending on you can write off your office space at your house. You can write off, Steve was joking about this cream he uses for his eyes, but you can write that off.
Totally. My appearance matters. You can maybe even write off the gym to stay in shape. Some employers will be like, hey, he looks good.
So truth or false on some of these?
Well, part of it depends if you actually own a business or you get a 1099 or you're an employee of a company. But let's just go down the route and saying that you're an employee of a company and you do something called itemizing your deductions. It's Schedule A on your tax return. There's a box down there for a form that's called 2106, which is called unreimbursed employee expenses, right? Which these are the things, for example, an easy one might be mileage. So one of the questions you need to be asking yourself outside of your regular commute is, did you have to do any travel, mileage, driving for your job? And your employer said that they wouldn't reimburse you, and that can be a significant tax deduction.
Make sure you say that again. Outside of your regular commute.
Right. You can't deduct your regular commute to and from work, but you might stop off for donuts on the way like I do.
If you're a lawn guy, if you're a lawn care guy, you work for a lawn care service, you can, if that's your truck, your vehicle that you're using, you can write off each and every house that you go to, right?
Yeah, as long as you don't go to the main destination. If there was like a main office building, and then you start there and then you take the truck, you can't deduct your drive from your house to that office. But yeah, when you go location to location, if you're paying for that truck and it's not reimbursed by your employer, those are tax deductions that you can take.
If you're in real estate, if you're not going to the main hub, the headquarters, but you're going to show a house, you can write off the mileage to that house.
Well, that's the big thing today, Jason. There's a lot of people that are 1099 contractors or freelancers, or they're they're self-employed. A good example is real estate agents. And there's where you really have to get creative, because all and anything that might go underneath the auspice of a business deduction is saying, was this related to something that might help me generate revenue in my business?
Right.
And if it did, then there probably is some correlated tax deduction that may range from meals and entertainment to mileage.
Right.
Yeah, and that's why you keep all your receipts. So like if you go to Starbucks and you meet with somebody and it's business because you're looking for a place that's not at either one of your offices or at home, you write that off. And then also, you're right, you keep up with everything, even clothing expenses.
Yeah, like when Steve's got to make appearances at the Pony. I mean,
18
like
miles.
eye cream and outfits and things like that are important.
And I know the mileage. It's 18 miles there. I know the mileage to all these places. I write off all the miles.
So instead of keeping the receipts, which is not the worst case scenario, but just have its own credit card, because sometimes
I just
gets
do it as backup.
a little convoluted with Uncle Sam when you have one credit card. You mentioned this, I don't know what time you were in, but you had mentioned this, and I remember you saying this.
Have 2 credit cards.
Yeah, if you have one credit card that you have personal stuff on and business, sometimes you'll get audited by Uncle Sam, correct?
Well, if you own a business, it's the best thing to do is make a separation of church and state, right? Because if the IRS does audit you, you want to be able to say, here's Ted Jenkin personal card, here's Ted Jenkin business card, so the expenses are stark about what's in your life personally and what's in the business. That makes it more difficult for you to get hurt when you get audited down the road.
What about American Express? Like the American Express is mine, but I have a card for Amanda, my wife, but it's a different card number. Could I do that? Could I use mine?
You can't write off your wife, Steve.
No, but could I use mine for all the work and use hers for all the pleasure and separate it that way? And
Well, Jason, it's on my sheet. The wife, it's on here. No.
Like, please tell me more. What are you asking?
What I'm saying is that would that be a way? Because you're right. I don't like mixing them either. But if I have 2 cards and then and I use one,
confused.
and I use one for all the write-offs and she uses hers just for personal, that's fine.
No, it's not. No, I wouldn't do it that way.
You would do like an American Express and a MasterCard.
Yeah, I mean, you can say, well, hey, it's my wife's personal card. I've just put all the business expenses on her card. But if you have a business and it's Southside Steve Incorporated, there should be a card that correlates to that business.
We need a Bailey and Southside card, and I will run that bitch up.
Great. Let me put my name on that. Here's what you do, Steve. You just put her name on one of the cards, okay, and let that be the personal, and then you have one for the business, and then keep it simple like that.
Because I don't want no red flags.
No, but see, where a lot of people make a mistake if you're a 1099 or you're a real estate agent is they don't set up corporate accounts. So you want to set up your mobile phone on a corporate account underneath that card. You might want to set up one at Costco or Staples or something like that.
Right.
Because there's a lot of things that you can buy there, and that makes it easier to get those written off within your business.
All right, some other things during tax time that people might not realize that they can write off.
Well, one of the big ones is about charitable deductions. People generally know what they give for cash, but many people will give away a bag or 2 of goodies every year. These may be clothes or things that they just clear out of their house, and they tell themselves, well, this bag of clothes is only worth maybe $50. But there's actually a website on the Salvation Army called satruck.com that actually shows the valuation, and in many cases, it could be $300, $400, $500 or more for the things that you actually give away.
And here's the great thing about when you drop stuff off to the Salvation Army or Goodwill.
Yeah.
They give you a receipt and a nice little card.
And then you have to...
And they don't put any amount on there.
I know.
That's right. They just sign it.
In my opinion, everything that I've dropped off, because it is extremely valuable, is no less than $500. So I just write on there $500.
Well, if you add up what's in those bags, I guarantee my retail could be $3,000 or $4,000 worth of clothes. What I paid for back in the day, but what are they worth now? $10, nothing.
That's not important, Steve. It's what you think the value is.
Well, and knowing this is where a lot of people make the mistake, Jason, is they don't say, well, if I make $50,000 a year or $90,000 a year, the average taxpayer that has my income, what would they claim on that line?
Right.
Because if you're trying to put yourself in the non-audit zone, we've done the statistics and research to show where you should be based upon your income. And a lot of people sort of under-deduct. They don't take enough deductions. And by the way, if you do a lot of volunteer work at a church, synagogue, some organization, you can deduct 14 cents on the mile for your driving to and from that charitable organization.
Can you deduct
like Steve did the polar plunge?
Yeah.
You'd be able to deduct that mileage on your charitable side because it's charity work that you're doing.
Can you deduct the time that how much you would have charged if it weren't charitable?
No, unfortunately, that's not going to fly.
Oh, see, I thought that too, like our talent fee, but yet you don't charge.
Well, my time is money, so yes, I will charge Uncle Sam.
Oh, come on.
Go ahead.
Well, one of the things I think people should look out for is that at the very late stage of last year, the government passed an act called the Consolidated Appropriations Act. Now, that sounds like a lot of fancy words, but it's all about energy saving. And a lot of people had questions that if I put in new windows in my house or I put in energy efficient heaters, pumps, things like that, could I deduct them? And I think a lot of people are going to go to tax time and forgot that they did it, or they thought that the tax break expired, but those credits still exist. So you really need to look at that. If you did any sort of improvements to the house,
your primary house?
Yeah.
Really?
Absolutely.
Oh, for sure. Like windows, anything that you did. That
all sorts of residential energy efficient improvements to your primary residence. They extended the tax breaks, and I think a lot of people are going to go to their tax person, or they're just going to forget about it when they fill out TurboTax or whatever they're using, and it's a pretty significant deduction.
So like something as simplistic as buying one of those Nest thermostats that aren't cheap but are supposed to be, help out with your energy efficient stuff.
Anything energy efficient, he can write off.
It's not anything, but
like I've had so much AC stuff done to my house, and I have so much more to do.
Does it have Energy Star on it?
It
probably does.
I wrote it on there into the Sharpie. Yeah.
Dude, you can write off that damn goat you had for a weekend to eat your kudzu because you spent money on food.
And it was energy efficient.
No, I didn't, Steve. He ate that's why I brought him there. I didn't want to feed him anything else so he could eat the damn kudzu.
Oh, you bastard.
My water bill, that went up because I fed him water.
Okay.
Damn goat.
All right, now we're reaching.
All right, so these are just a few things that you have, but there is I see you have like a list of 80 things, right?
I've got two. Yeah, one, if you go to the website at oxygenfinancial.net, especially if you're a business owner or 1099 or you work out of the house, I have a list of 80 business tax deductions that I put together over the last decade that you can potentially write off in your business. And if you haven't made a last-minute IRA contribution, you still may be able to set up an IRA for 2015 and still deduct it before you file your taxes.
You showed me that when we're doing that.
They just say
Finally, I could write off something on Amanda. I'm like, okay, God. Thank you, Ted.
Here's the deal is, they always say we're promised two things, death and taxes, right? So we're all dealing with taxes. It's not a fun conversation to have, but we all want to get as much money back as humanly possible. Don't be silly and just, go online and fill out the ABCs of this. Call somebody like Ted, right? Call Ted Jenkin and ask him questions about mileage or what you can write off in your house, this energy efficient stuff. Even if it's $1 or $5 extra you're getting back, don't let Uncle Sam have it. It's your money. You get it back, and give Ted a call. How can people get a hold of you?
Yeah, just go to oxygenfinancial.net. We'll get you the list of 80 business tax deductions, and I've got a special article now on all the tax plans of all of the presidential candidates, and you really want to read it.
Well, what's that about?
I've analyzed them all. Rubio, Trump, Cruz.
Trump is not releasing his tax stuff.
No, he's got a plan that he's put online right now, and so is Sanders and Clinton. They've all put it online. One day, if you want to go on here and hit me up, I'll tell you the good, bad, and the ugly about all of them.
All right, there you go. Ted Jenkin, headlines coming up here next. Brandy, what do we have?
We have tickets to 2016 AMA Monster Energy Supercross happening this Saturday at the Georgia Dome. Tickets and more info, supercrosslive.com.
And get there early, because Steve and I would like to see you and have a drink with you. We'll be there starting around 4:30, so we're going to be there bright and early. I don't know when the doors open or why we're there that early, but we're going to be there early, and we hope you are there early, too.
Yeah, we'll drink with you, and I'll slur later.
Yeah, Slur and Steve. 404-741-ROCK. That's 404-741-7625. 3 top stories from today here next if you want in on headlines. It's Bailey and Southside Rock 100.5.